LoreWarrior Armour, Sea Skimmer Hydrofoil. Overview. After the Exodus era, the Wet Navy all but vanished. Each newly colonised planet had only a single government and so had no need to build a wet navy to sink another government's wet navy. Nor could a colony world hide behind an ocean when invaded from space. Some military missions did still remain though for a wet navy, even on worlds with single governments. Counterinsurgency operations on a planet's waterways and the control of civilian shipping were still functions on worlds whose populations were considered rebellious. To carry out such operations, the military generally used conventional land hovercraft supplemented by armed commercial vessels, rather than expensive specially designed military vessels. It would be surprising to find such a specially designed military hydrofoil on a planet where no active rebellion exists. The exception, though, was the planet Sky in the Lyran Commonwealth. Its military hydrofoils were part of a reserve unit commanded and paid for by rich young men who wished to avoid the draft and to wear fancy military uniforms at social functions. In 2876, a group of young Lyrans of military age, most the offspring of prominent social generals, approached the LCAF with a proposal. As the Archon had invoked the Military Disaster Act, they expected they would be drafted into the LCAF as expensive cannon fodder. Wouldn't it be better, they asked, for them to form their own military unit, equipped, maintained and paid for from their own resources? All that they asked in return was that the unit be incorporated into the Sky Militia and be allowed to equip itself as the group saw fit. With more than a little prodding from some highly placed civilians, the LCAF relented and authorised the group to form the 348th Reserve Detachment of the Sky Militia. At worst, the LCAF commanders assumed that they would be getting a free platoon of lightly armed infantry. They were wrong. Most of the young people belonged to the New Glasgow Yacht Club, and they contracted with Sky Pleasure Craft Limited to build 12 armed hydrofoils for the 348th. Thus, 3 months later, the members of the 348th could be seen patrolling the lakes and rivers around New Glasgow. They were resplendent in their dark blue and gold uniforms and were usually accompanied by pleasure-loving civilians, as they did their duty for the honour of Sky. Capabilities. The Sea Skimmer is a standard hydrofoil craft. It utilises a standard displacement hull on which are mounted 3 wings or foils, one on the bow and each on the port and starboard sides of the hull. These foils retract into the hull for low-speed operations or when the Sea Skimmer is operating in depths of less than a metre. At high speed, the foils are lowered, which lifts up the hull and reduces overall drag and allows the skimmer to achieve speeds in excess of 190 kph. Its primary weapon system is a Coventry 4-tube missile system located in a turret, providing a 360-degree field of fire. Browning Sperry machine guns provide close-in protection to the ship's sides and stern. Battle history. For 28 years, the 348th Reserve Detachment of the Sky Militia kept the rivers and lakes near Glasgow free from the oppression of the Draconis Combine. With the Combine nowhere near Sky at that time, the mission was not that hard to accomplish. Once a week, the detachment would assemble at the Yacht Club, take vital supplies and civilian observers on board, and go off on manoeuvres for the day. All that, however, changed in 2895 when Combine forces jumped into the Sky system. Sky had been reinforced by 2 mech regiments and 12 infantry and armour regiments. The reserves were mobilised, and the 348th were sent to support the troops holding the city of Inverness in the Manti River Delta. Contrary to all expectation, the 348th acquitted themselves well in their swift sea skimmers. They used the delta as a highway through the Cureton lines, running raiding parties back and forth. They also provided many hard-pressed infantry units with the needed fire support in the delta swamps. In an even more noteworthy example, sea skimmers were used to deploy a tactical nuclear device that halted a Cureton thrust. A battalion of Cureton mechs had broken through the lines and was advancing over the floodplains toward Inverness. The Sky Defenders had nothing left to stop them. All defending aircraft had been shot down weeks before and there were no more functional artillery pieces. The 348th was the only reserve force left, and it had only 2 operational sea skimmers. The commander of the Inverness garrison made a desperate decision. Contrary to the rules of war, he decided to use a nuclear device to stop the Cureton mechs. The Manti River was at flood level, held back from inundating the surrounding farmland only by a dam 10 kilometres behind what were now the Combine front lines. The last 2 sea skimmers were each loaded with 1 kiloton nuclear demolition charges and ordered to destroy the dam. At first, the dash up the river was easy. As the sea skimmers streaked by at max speed, the startled Curetan troops had no time to react before the vessels went out of range. As the skimmers approached the dam, however, a Curetan Locust and a Stinger blocked their path. Both skippers were experienced veterans by now and immediately began evasive maneuvers. Each letting a salvo of short-range missiles aimed at the Stinger, it staggered under the impact and fell into the river. The sea skimmers dashed through the opening, taking some hits from the Locust's laser, but were able to function. Suddenly, the rear sea skimmer was lifted from the water as the downed Stinger rose. The Stinger was knocked down again, never to rise, but that second sea skimmer had its foils sheared off and the hull punctured. The Locust moved in to finish it off as the first sea skimmer sped for the dam. With the Locust trailing far behind, the skimmer approached the dam, and Curetan infantry had taken control of it and were now throwing everything they had at the speeding hydrofoil. Some weapons hit, but not enough to stop it. Seconds later, the infantry, the dam, and the last remnant of the 348th vanished in a nuclear fireball. Variants. There are no known variants of the sea skimmer. Over the years, unofficial modifications included stripping out the machine guns and replacing them with SRM-2s or upgrading the SRM-4 to an SRM-6. Notable units and crew: Commodore Lisa Miles and the Lady's Slipper. Commodore Lisa Miles was the last commander of the 348th Reserve Detachment. She was the daughter of Jonathan Miles, one of the original founders of the detachment, and she inherited the Lady's Slipper upon his retirement. Lisa Miles and her crew were awarded the Honour of Sky, posthumously.